Hi, so today I'll be trying to explain to you how to pack your backpack efficiently for backpacking. That's kind of a mouthful, but this is, or at least how I do it. Here are the table of contents that I will be discussing in this video, just to keep it organized and on track. Number one, the why. Why do you want to pack efficiently? I will tell you. Backpacking is overall more efficient than carrying your suitcase wherever you go, depending on where you go and how long you're traveling for. And the fact that everything is with you all at once, you don't have to check in your luggage at the airport and then wait for it to pick it up and then go to your destination. You could just sometimes walk right through to security, go to your gate, get on the plane, get off the plane, catch your mode of transportation, and then head off to your destination from there. Another reason why is simplicity, which goes along with my first point that I made, efficiency. Having everything with you and also not having so many things. It's very just simple. My last point to point number one is baggage fees. After being charged €100 by one specific airlines, I've always been charged for my oversized backpack. I realized that it's much better just to bring what they call a personal item, which is usually free, especially if you're flying with budget airlines and everything is an extra added cost. Which leads me to my next point number two. For specific airlines, personal item dimensions and their weight limit. And usually on most airlines, or I should say all, but I'm going to say most just in case, a personal item is always free. A personal item is really considered a really small backpack, a laptop bag, or a purse. So small. First, with the airlines that you'll be flying with, figure out the dimensions limit and also or weight limit for the personal item. That's very important. You don't want to exceed that limit. I say this because you'll be charged if you greatly exceed these limits, because either at the gate or at check-in, they'll make sure your bag is in the proper dimensions sometimes, and make sure that your bag is not overweight as well. Here is what they use to check to make sure your bag doesn't greatly exceed these limits. Be wary, because if it does greatly exceed these limits, you will be charged, especially if they are checking. But I'm thankful that I have yet to be checked on my recent trip. But other than that, when I had my big backpack, which I will show you later on in this video, I did get charged for that as a carry-on. So be mindful and wary. Now, some advice. If you're traveling in America or Europe, it's usually just the dimensions of the bag that matter the most, not the weight. So you can kind of play around with that to the best of your ability. If you're traveling in Asia, it's the dimensions of the bag and also the weight of the bag. And usually the weight of the bag maximum is 7 kilograms, which is about 15 pounds max. Now, I flew with Ryanair 3 times back in my trip to Barcelona and Morocco in January, so I feel like this will be a really good example. Their dimension size is extremely and way smaller than other airlines, so this is a really great example. Now, this will be the measurements of the bag, the personal item size for Ryanair, which is 40 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 25 centimeters. And then if you convert that into inches, it's 15.7 inches by 7.8 inches by 9.8 inches. Now, there's a lot of 0.7, 0.8, and 0.8. I would strongly suggest to not round up and just keep it at that. I would measure your bag in centimeters over inches just to be sure and safe. To give you some perspective, this is a ruler which is 12 inches, 1 foot, and also is 30 centimeters. It goes up to 30 centimeters. Now, if you don't have a measuring tape, a ruler is just fine. If you don't have either of those things, and you're either looking to buy a backpack or you already have a backpack you're thinking about bringing, what I found really helpful is to look up your backpack online, and usually they have the dimensions of the bag online at that website. So, or Amazon too. Now to show you my bags. Now this one, oh, it's kind of heavy. I have a lot of stuff in it. This one, you can kind of see how big it is. This is my baby. I love this backpack so much, but this will be considered a carry-on and not a personal item. Now, when I first flew to Europe, throughout Europe, I never got charged for this on a flight, except for, honestly, Play Airlines going to and from Europe, right? But so if you have a big, lovely backpack like this, like a hiking bag, I would not, this is too big, way too big. Just like I mentioned in the previous part of this video, this is the backpack that I was charged 100 euros for going back to the United States from London. So I don't think you want to just drop 100 euros. Now, for the backpack that I actually brought with me on my most recent trip, was this baby. Look how tiny she is. Now, this backpack, the brand name is Brevite, and ironically, I was looking for a decent quality backpack that is small and compact. And I found this at the thrift store, and it's really light pink, so it was really dusty, but the integrity of the bag was still there. So all I did was give it a good cleaning, and look how pretty she is. I should have did like a before and after. But this is the bag that I traveled with to Spain and Morocco for 2 weeks, and I did not get charged once, or my bag being checked for its dimensions and size. They just saw that it was a small backpack and were like, okay. But if you do have a large backpack, they're going to probably check that for a personal item size. So like I mentioned before, to figure out the actual dimensions of this bag, because although it may look small, the dimensions can be smaller. So always check for that. So what I did was I went on their website and I looked up this exact backpack and I looked up the dimensions. Now, it is a bit larger than the required dimensions, but since it already is small enough, it was okay. And then also too, what I noticed on my trip is that a lot of people were doing the same exact thing when checking in, not before, after going through security and checking in. At check-in, all they had was a very small backpack to travel with, because those fees, no, they cost too much. The plane ticket itself cost around 30 to 20 bucks when I flew throughout Spain and Morocco. And then on top of that, your luggage and everything else is about the same price as the ticket or more. And you just want to pay for the cheap plane ticket. So, said, sometimes they check, sometimes they don't check. It really just depends. But this leads me to my next point. Point number 3, how to cheat the system. Now, wear your bulkiest items and put all your lighter items in your backpack. Plain and simple. And then beside your backpack, have a crossbody bag or a fanny pack or a purse or even a smaller backpack, like those mini backpacks. I brought a crossbody bag, purse, whatever you want to call it. Reason being is because sometimes they consider you having 2 purses, like having 2 personal items when you're only supposed to have 1, and thus you may get charged for that. But then I soon realized that I didn't have to hide my little crossbody purse bag or whatever, because a lot of people had theirs out in the open and they weren't charged for it whatsoever. So, but this is why. So what I do is I strip everything out of this bag so it's completely empty. I put it on like so. This is the actual jacket and purse that I used on my trip. So, and I take my jacket, I put it on, and then I zip it up. You can't see it, can you? You can't. And let me show you the back. I don't think you can kind of, But since I have my backpack on, you couldn't see it whatsoever. But this is kind of uncomfortable. Oh, okay. That's a lot to do, but I usually do that in the bathroom before I board my flight. And let's say you do have a lot of extra stuff that you can't necessarily fit into your backpack. That's another thing you could do, is just put all your extra items in here and do what I just did. Then also, I have some really, these pockets are deep in this jacket. That, whatever. Anyways, the pockets are deep. So I would put a lot of my items in my pockets, in my pants pockets, in my jacket pockets, and then also my big leather jacket had those pockets on the inside. I will put things in there, and then also, just like this jacket, that jacket coat had pockets on the side as well. So just put everything everywhere is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to insert the clip here as I voice over it right now. So another packing hack is also, or how to cheat the system per se, is to have a neck pillow case, and you take the pillow out of it, and then you put whatever sweater or jacket or extra clothing items inside of the pillowcase, because usually they don't account for that, at least for me. And I like to have a pillow neck. I like to have a neck pillow with me. It's just an extra thing to have to lay down and sleep, or put around your neck on planes and long haul road trips or whatever you're going and doing. It's nice to have that neck pillow. And then also you can have some extra clothes with you as well. Point number 4, what to pack, which is really the major thing about this whole packing efficiently, and then also making it really simple. And this is kind of the hardest thing to do. So every person is different. So I'm going to give you how I pack and what I bring, and then you could tailor it to your needs. The first thing you need to do is plan. Where are you going? What are you doing? And how long you'll be there. And then number 4, actually, there's another one. The weather of where you're going. So when planning for my trips, especially when backpacking, I like to make notes of all the things I need, like a list of just everything. And I split it up into 5 sections. The first one being important, electronics, clothes, toiletries, and etc. All on my phone in the Notes app. Now the only section that I'll be listing off from is my important section right here in my notes for my trip, is passport if you're leaving the country, COVID card, self-explanatory, your wallet, which has all my IDs, my cash, my credit, debit cards, everything like that, and my phone. You need this thing. I'll actually go through my electronics section too, because I feel like after important and before the clothing you bring, the kind of electronics that you bring on your trip is really important. Okay, so I bring a flashlight, my chargers, and portable chargers. So all the chargers and charging blocks for all of my devices. And I, at minimum, bring 2 portable chargers with me. That is very important, I would say. My camera and gear, because I love taking pictures and videos. My Apple Watch, headphones, iPad, and phone. Sometimes it is a bit better to have another device on you other than just your phone for entertainment purposes, but also kind of like a just in case thing. Because when I was in Europe for the first time and I was just booking hotels and whatnot, there's only so much cross-examination of things you could do on your phone, and it was a lot easier to do a lot of the bookings and research and looking up on my iPad. So now the major thing is clothing. I'm not going to get too deep into this because I'm trying to keep it simple, because this can go a million gazillion different ways. Honestly takes the most planning and takes up the most space in your bag, which is kind of sad. Like I said before, it depends on where you're going and when you're going, what you're doing while you're there, and how long you'll be there. You have to take all of those factors into consideration. Like a great example is when I went to Morocco, although yes, it was a bit warmer being there in January, but not necessarily like warm where I could wear shorts and whatnot. It is a Muslim country, so I would highly recommend looking up the place you're going to beforehand, because in Muslim countries it is very respectful to dress modestly. So make sure you understand the laws and the rules and culture to where you're going. But if also you're doing like a lot of excursions and hiking and so forth and whatnot, I would definitely say pack appropriately to that as well. And if you're in Europe in the summertime, you can definitely pack a lot more efficiently because your clothes are going to be smaller, lighter, and thinner. Whereas in the wintertime, I would definitely focus on layering your clothing before bringing a whole bunch of bulkier items. Now for the shoes. I always bring one pair of shoes with me when I travel. For some, they may not be ideal. You're probably like, wearing the same shoes every single day sounds like a nightmare. But that's really, it just keeps it simple. You have that one pair of shoes you just slip on every single day. And then I would say I technically bring two. Technically, I always bring a pair of shower shoes with me, because if you're going to a hostel, especially if you're budget backpacking like I've done, you don't want foot fungus or anything else you can catch while being in a bathroom that you're sharing with others. And depending on your accommodation, you really don't know how well and thoroughly that bathroom has been cleaned. And also, when you're just walking around your room or hotel, or you're trying to grab something real quick, it's nice to have that little shower shoe with you or whatever. And at the end of my trip, I always throw them away. But before what clothes you bring, hygiene is very important, and do not skip out on that. Knowing that I'm clean and pampered with my own products is always a plus versus using the hotel stuff. Yeah. But in this area, I would suggest to keep it really simple, because I know there's people out there that have a million step skincare routine. I'm pretty simple with my skincare routine, but everybody else, they have a really in-depth skincare routine. But keep it really simple. Now, keep in mind with all airlines, all you can bring maximum is 3 ounces of liquid, which is 100 milliliters of liquid. So this is what I bring. So for toothpaste and deodorant is the only products that I buy that is travel size, because it saves up a lot of space. But since deodorant, a lot of it is a solid, so you can really bring any size deodorant that you want. There are liquid deodorants, but with toothpaste, as long as it's under 3.4 ounces, you can bring it with you. But just to be on the safe side, I would suggest just a 3 ounce and under toothpaste, but you don't really need to buy the really small travel size toothpaste. Like I said before, I just do it because it saves up a tremendous amount of space in my personal item bag, and I always bring like 2 of them with me. My other point of advice to pack efficiently is, if you can pack it in a solid, do that instead of a liquid. What I bring is a bar of soap instead of a liquid soap. And then to clean my face, I love to use African black soap. And to moisturize my skin, I use shea butter and coconut oil. Actually show you that real quick. Ooh, okay. So I put my shea butter and coconut oil in this container. On this side is the shea butter, and on this side is the coconut oil. This is the coconut oil. It's a solid. Sorry for the piece of hair. It's a solid, so that's good to bring. Unless you're in a really warm climate, I mean, I wouldn't strongly suggest it, but it stayed in a solid it's the whole time. And this is African black soap, what I use for my face. And then the end is my etc. and miscellaneous list of my packing list. Now, I'm going to show you here because it's a lot of miscellaneous items. The one part of this list that I find really important is to have a pen with you at all times. Every trip I've been on, I always have a pen with me, because you don't know what documentations and whatnot you're going to have to fill out or sign along your travels. So this is essentially how I do it, how I pack efficiently after doing it so many times, right? And being charged 100 euros, which definitely influenced me to do this, to save money. And as you could see on the list that I've shown you, some things I do prioritize over the others. So definitely tailor this to your needs. And I've also made a video of what's in my backpack while I was in Morocco, Spain, actually being there and showing you all the contents of what's in my backpack on my 2-week journey throughout Spain and Morocco. But okay, that is all. Happy backpacking. Bye.